Thank you very much for listening to this week's share as we embark on a new book, the Torah, the book of Shemot, Exodus, when we read about the beginning of the redemptive process. First of all, the end part of the exile in Egypt, the servitude, the enslavement, and going towards the leaving of the Yetzias Mitzrayim, the leaving from Egypt. And as we read this book of miracles of so many different kinds, we tune in to the miracles that we have been witnessing ourselves as we navigate the challenges of the past 15 months. And we are davening for the speedy and immediate release of all of the hostages in Gaza and the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF. And this can give us the chizuk when we see that our people went through tremendous challenges and Hashem is with us, and the stories of the redemption and the miracles are not just history at all, but they are our lived present. And I think that if we have a title for this week's talk, it would be Unlimited. And the source of that incredible message that we get is actually from the story of the daughter of Paro as she rescues the infant Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's sedra, who has been put into a basket in the River Nile, as his mother Yocheved is trying to hide him from discovery from the Egyptian officials who have been ordered to kill every Jewish male infant. And this concept, this message comes through so clearly through the use of a medrash, and it's something that we can use as the springboard to understand the lessons and the incredible way that the medrash teaches us those lessons. And perhaps we get lazy with our understanding of midrashim because we grow up with them from kindergarten. Some of the midrashim sound like impossible fairy tales, but they are very deliberate ways to give us a nuance, to give us a deeper understanding. In an essay that really develops this idea, Rabbi David Foreman calls the medrash the harmony. The written Torah is like the melody, and the medrash is the harmony. And when we hear the two together, we get the most deep, multi-layered, multi-sensory experience. And the plain text and the medrash that I'm referring to come from the pasuk that describes as the daughter of Paro sees this basket, and that is in chapter 2, verse 5. Vatered bas Paro lirchotz al hayar, and the daughter of Paro went down to wash by the river, to bathe by the river. V'narosah holchas al yod hayar, and her maidens walked along the river. Vatere es hateva, and she saw the basket. Besoch hasof, in the reeds, in the midst of the reeds. Vatishlach es amosa vatikocheha, and she sent her maidservant, and she took it. And that is the pshat, the simple explanation of the words. Rashi just explains es amosa, this es shivchosa, her slave woman. V'rabbeinu darshu loshon yad. Our rabbis expounded that the word amasa means arm. And so then from that, Vehem darshu es amasa es yodeha, es amasa v'nishtar amasa amos harbe. According to their interpretation, her forearm became lengthened by many amos to enable it to reach the basket and draw it out of the river. So from the simple translation that we read for the actual words in the Torah, we go to this wonderful story of how Batya's arm miraculously stretches, grows of its own accord by many cubits, by many amas, and she is able to reach that basket by herself. And the question that's asked, why do we need this very deep and fantastic way of looking at things? Because although the word ama can either mean maidservant, even though the word normally used is shifra, but it can also mean a measurement from the elbow to the knuckles. So that's the practical reason why the rabbis can give this alternative definition. But really, if we think about it, the fact that the daughter of Paro is rescuing a child, whether she just sends her maidservant or whether she reaches for it herself, she is going against her father's decree. It must be fairly obvious that an infant floating about in a reed basket in the River Nile at a time when her father has decreed that all Jewish male infants must be murdered, that there's a high to total possibility that that child, that infant inside the basket, is a Jewish child. So therefore, by the daughter of Paro rescuing such a child and then continuing even further to take that child into Paro's palace under his nose and bring that child up, continue that whole rescue process. That in and of itself is the most incredible story, a story of courage, the story of a woman standing up, albeit her father. She is standing up to the most powerful man in the world at the time. She is undermining his decree under his very nose. And this is something that should leave us completely jaw-dropped in open admiration that anybody could show such incredible courage and vision. So, why do we need to go down the route of this incredible medrash? So, I think that we can understand that the difference between sending your maidservant and stretching your arm is that although Paro's daughter is giving the instruction to her maidservant and she's going to take responsibility for this action, somebody else is going and getting the child. When we go along the lines of the Medrash and we see that Paro's daughter herself is seeing that basket in the river and she is stretching. She is standing by the river shore. The distance looks impossibly long unless she jumps in and swims. Yet she pushes her hand further and further and further, and she is able to reach it. And it is this message of unlimited effort that Paro, that Batya puts into rescuing Moshe Rabbeinu is the message that we can all absorb forever. And this is understanding that our obligation is to try our best when we want to do something that is really worthwhile and good. We might think we don't have the means, we might think that we're not capable, but we just need to give it our all because that is our obligation. Whether we succeed or not, that is Hashem's decision. But it is for us, it is incumbent upon us, and we can learn this most clearly from the daughter of Paro, from the Medrash, from this Medrash that sounds like a fantastic fairy tale. And how many times have we heard of whether it's in the sports field, that people have thought that something is too far, that they're never going to be able to reach it. The tennis player with a tennis ball, the high jumper who's jumping over the bar. But with that push, with that effort, they find the wherewithal to achieve. And really, it is tapping into that reality of Hashem, that reality of trying, stretching, pushing ourselves. And we can see how this message filters through because Moshe Rabbeinu, who returns to the house unbelievably to the house of Paro, to be raised there under the nose of the person who decreed his demise. And he then grows up and he goes out and he sees an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Jewish person, and he intervenes. And he could have thought, I'm going to go back to the palace. I'm going to bide my time. I'm going to speak up for the Jewish people. At this point, he must have had some kind of inkling or hard knowledge of his origins. I'm going to use my position in an intelligent, sensible way. What does he do? He acts spontaneously. He throws caution to the wind. He stops that abuse then and there. And as a result, he incurs the wrath of Paro quite predictably. He would happily have had him killed, or he then has to flee to Midian. And you might say at the time, what have you done? Why did you do that? But it's that concept of I have to just try my best. I've got to stretch to that impossible level because I want to do something. I can see something that's happening here. I can see something that's wrong, and I've got to stop it. And this is something that perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu absorbed in the nurture from the woman who was his adoptive mother and who rescued him from the Nile. And we see the gratitude, the Hakaras Hatov, that is expressed in the Torah by the fact that of the range of names that are attributed to Moshe Rabbeinu, there's 7+ names, including Yekutiel, Tuvia, various other names that if you ask people, do you know all of the names of Moshe Rabbeinu, they might only know that he is called Moshe, and we all refer to Moshe Rabbeinu consistently as Moshe. This is the name that the daughter of Paro gives to Moshe Rabbeinu, and this is tremendous gratitude that she is forever associated with our greatest leader. And this we can see that Moshe Rabbeinu, he has absorbed this incredible message, this feeling of being unlimited in our desire to achieve some positive, good result. And this is something that we can channel our energies. And a very beautiful concept of how this is applied even further is that we talk about Hashem taking us out of Mitzrayim, biyod chazaka ubizra natuya, with a strong hand, a mighty hand, and an outstretched arm. And although the word zra is not the same as amar, it still refers to the arm. It is possible, especially when we're thinking of anthropomorphisms, of attributing physical parts of the physical body to Hashem, which Hashem is Ein Sof. It must be inappropriate on some level, yet it gives us a picture, it gives us a way to identify with a certain concept. And by referring to the outstretched arm of Hashem, perhaps we can remember that outstretched arm of the daughter of Paro, who saw this life, this infant in the basket, and went beyond her limitations to save him. And I think that we continue the values and the way of the Torah to embrace life, to value life, to regard each life as a world in itself. This is something that we see from our earliest times, and we see it coming right into the challenges that we're going through now, and the contrast between our evil enemies who are worshipping death, or are just, whether it's the death of the people of the Jewish people, that as many as possible that they can kill, or even their own, that they just do not value life, that they're able to do the things that they're doing. And in contrast, we are a people that value life, that embrace life. And this is something that has actually been noticed right now, that there is a baby boom in Israel after the past 15 months of challenge and suffering and loss of so many of our loved ones. And the hospitals. People have there was a film of somebody at the bris of his child. He was saying he was going from hospital to hospital so that his wife could deliver. He spoke at the bris, and he said they at each hospital they went to, there were queues of women waiting to deliver their babies. And I saw an advert for Laniado Hospital that they have had a record number of births this year, 8,400 births this year, 400 up on the previous year. And again, this is people who are choosing life, who are bringing life into the world, who value life. And may Hashem continue to shower the miracles that we are reading about in the sedra of Shemos, in the book of Shemos, and continue to support us as we make the most of life and we bring life and light into the world. And may all our prayers be speedily answered and our enemies be defeated utterly, speedily, and in our time. Thank you so much for listening. Wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom.